Welcome to Composers Play. My name is Scott Tobin. For the last 10 years, I've been composing music for video games, such as Project Reality, Squad, and Postscriptum. The concept of Composers Play was brought on from my passion for video game music. So, join me as I relive, discuss, and get a little nostalgic with the composers of some of the most memorable video game music. Hey everyone, and welcome to Composers Play. And again, I'm joined by Lee Jackson, the composer of Shadow Warrior. And we're going to get chatting about some of the Shadow Warrior music and the theme. Lee, thanks again for joining me.
Thanks for having me back on. It's a real pleasure.
So, so before we get playing, can you just talk about the Shadow Warrior theme for a bit?
Well, it was a little bit more difficult to come up with. Didn't have the same flash of inspiration that I had when I came up with Grab Bag, the theme for Duke Nukem 3D. I had to really dig for an idea, and unfortunately I had to resort to kind of a cheesy method for the theme for Shadow Warrior.
Right.
You hear the da 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 da. That's actually sort of an unsung lyric. Shadow Warrior. Yeah.
No way.
Shadow Warrior. Yeah. It's I had to resort to that, and I don't like to admit it, but it's what I did.
That's amazing.
And the secret is out now, and I don't want anybody taking it and turning it into something like with the Stargunner singing theme. That I don't want to hear on YouTube.
I was just going to ask you if if someone would do a cover of the Shadow Warrior with the lyrics.
Please God, no. No singing Shadow Warrior.
It's amazing, and now that you've mentioned it, I can actually hear it in my head, with the lyrics.
It's an earworm now.
It really is an earworm, more than it was before. So it's a cool theme because it's definitely reminds me of the Duke Nukem Grab Bag a little bit with the with the distortion guitars, but you've also used the the Japanese instruments, the shamisen and the koto.
Right. Those were set up to be my orchestra through the most of the pieces of the soundtrack. I had a 3-part orchestra for the main melodic pieces of the orchestra, of the soundtrack, you could say. The shamisen on one side, the koto on the other side, and a shakuhachi flute, or a flute of some sort, down the middle. And that's with the taiko drums off, playing their own spot in the middle or panned a little bit to one side. That's the way that all of the melodic tracks were. And I started that off with the theme song. And I can't remember if I did it the other way around or not. Just had the orchestra set up and then just mimicked it in the theme song. I don't remember which way I did it, but either way, it was consistent throughout the game.
Right.
But
go ahead. Sorry.
I did start it off with the little Japanese motif at the beginning, and then very quickly segued into something that was more rock and roll.
Right.
But still kind of Japanese sounding. And then brought in the flute on top of it, or brought in the koto and the shamisen on top of it to play sort of the rock theme. So
gotcha.
That's where it came from.
Cool, yeah, it's really cool, and it's obviously you're using all the Japanese scales as well, and you obviously, you did your research. It sounds really cool. You gotta have the session here, and now it's in the general MIDI sound font, so it doesn't sound great, but at least we can kind of go through it and yeah, and have a listen. So it's super catchy, and like now that you mentioned the melody as well, it's pretty funny, like, but it's cool.
As long as it works, that makes me happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I didn't actually research the names of the scales or anything. They just kind of came natural to me.
Okay.
Because what I did was I immersed myself in some Japanese music, a couple of CDs of Japanese music, the traditional stuff,
Right.
along with the CD of the group Kodo, their CD of their performance live at the Acropolis, which is
right.
a really great CD, and even a better DVD if you can find that. Get a copy of it and watch it. It's a great theatrical performance.
Yeah.
They work their butts off on stage, and musically, they're musically very tight, and theatrically just as tight to watch. It's outstanding,
Wow.
and I picked up a lot of good stuff from them. Not in terms of thematic material, but just in terms of what to do on scales, like you were talking about, on how to perform the taiko drums, the different types of taiko drums that were available to me, mainly on the Roland SC88.
Right.
The Roland had, being a Japanese instrument, the Roland had some great taiko sounds,
Yeah.
and it had the great koto and shamisen sounds. So I was able to use those synthesized without having to go off and look for samples of them. And those just worked out really nice.
Yeah, the sounds on the SC88 are phenomenal, and they still sound good today.
Yes, I still use them. Looking at it, that's all SC88, as a matter of fact.
Right. Okay.
Okay, yeah, everything there is SC88, and it's using the eMIDI format that we developed for Duke Nukem 3D.
Gotcha.
Some of those tracks are duplicated. Like if you look at tracks 8 and 9, track 9 you should probably mute.
Okay.
And track 10 you should mute as well.
Okay.
Because
That's the two synths, is it?
those are duplicating themselves.
Right. Yeah, I can see it here actually. Yeah.
Track 7 you should mute.
Okay.
Because that's a version of the shakuhachi just for FM instruments.
Right.
You can tell from the name of the track.
Oh yeah, FM. Yeah.
Track 13, mute that. That's an alternate shamisen
Right.
track. Mute track 17. That's an FM cymbals part. And now try playing it.
Ah.
It should sound different.
Right. Yeah. It's not as kind of clustered. Not as full.
Right.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, the slap bass sound on the SC88 was phenomenal. It was really good.
It was a good one, yeah. And I've got an extra slap bass thrown in there. I think that's... Now I was using...
Yeah, I mean the general MIDI version isn't great, but the SC88 was really really good.
Hmm. That was added in the event that the person had I think uh, I believe that they had oh good grief, I don't remember what they had. It was just if they were capable of playing an extra sound on their sound card, they'd get that.
Right.
But
Okay.
and I took that and recorded it out for the one that's on the uh, CD, and
Right.
added a couple of different instruments into it uh, for the extended version of the song, because the one on the CD is twice as long
Right. Hmm.
and uses some different instruments, different synthesizers playing the lead part.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, because I didn't have the audio version until much later. Um, when I first played the game, so
Right, right. Yeah, I put a lot of time into doing those tracks. I was wondering if I'd have enough time to do enough music for everything,
mm,
and there was a limitation on track space on the CD.
right.
Uh,
Hmm.
weren't able to put enough tracks on there as we'd like, um, just because of the amount of space that the CD would hold, the
Hmm.
amount of audio that the CD would hold. Because the thing was, went out as a CD extra. Track one was actually a data track, and
Right. Okay.
tracks two through whatever the last track was were audio tracks.
Right. Okay.
So that's how we got the game going. That's how they did Quake, I believe. Same way. You load the game off the CD and then switch over to playing the audio off of off the CD
Right.
without having to insert a separate CD for the music. So
Yeah.
you just use what was called an enhanced mode CD.
Oh.
Little
Okay.
there's your geek lesson for this
Right. I
particular
I
interview.
I had no idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like because remember I put the Shadow Warrior CD into my CD player when I was younger, and I was like, whoa! I was like, this is amazing hearing CD audio, from a game in a in a CD player. It was pretty cool. Like,
Right. CD player would skip track one normally,
gotcha. Hmm.
because of the enhanced mode. Some wouldn't. That's why we always put out a disclaimer: don't play track one. It's a data track.
Ah, right. Okay. I had
Yeah.
no idea. Was this the first this first team? Was that your first version that you wrote and presented it to the guys, or was this a few attempts after?
This was the first try at the theme.
No way.
Yeah, this
Wow.
was my first try at doing a theme, and they just kind of went, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't have any other ideas for the theme. I mean, I worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, and finally just said, "Okay, here it is." And they went, "Okay." Yeah, they
Wow.
they they weren't super enthusiastic about it, but they said it did sound like a theme, so we'll take it and run with it. They weren't jumping up and down like they were with Grab Bag,
Right. Okay. Well, hey,
but
like it's kind of hard to top the grab bag team.
right, yeah,
I mean,
difficult
yeah.
difficult at best.
Hmm.
But this one was just a one try, and it's done. But it was a lot of work getting it digging it out, like I said, and like I said, cheesy work too.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, but it's very nicely arranged though. Like the way the intro happens, it's really cool, and then it goes straight into the rock thing.
I think that's what sold it.
Yeah,
The fact that it starts with the Japanese music there
yeah, it's pretty cool.
and just very quickly slams into rock and roll.
Right.
Uh, if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have sold the theme.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have passed it off. Um, and even that beginning bit has a little bit of uh, a a little bit of Shadow Warrior sound to it. Da
Definitely.
da 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 da. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which
A
instrument is
little.
playing that? It's probably the koto, is it?
The flute is playing the da 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 da. That's the flute.
Oh yeah. Where are you? Uh, right.
It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shakuhachi.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. It's cool.
A lot of pitch bending I used in that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can see it. And then a bit of modulation as well, just for that little bit
yep.
of.
A lot of expression.
Yeah, I can see it here as well. That's cool. Pitch bend is there as well.
A triplet type echo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That echo there is from the Alesis MIDI-Verb 4. I took
Ah.
one channel of it and gave it feedback through the unit. And that's where that triplet echo is coming from.
Gotcha. That's cool, actually. Yeah, it's cool because it has the you pan the shamisen to the left and the koto to the right. That's cool.
And then we've got the pretty much everything echoed. And it's a fading echo. Steps down with each repeating one.
Yeah, the wind chimes are echoed as well.
It's in a 6/8 time key here. I mean time measure.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
And in the shareware version, it's not echoed.
Right.
It still sounds good, but it just doesn't have the echo.
So we're back to the first track on the first level.
Right. Now this one, I like to say my tracks were fun, and well, they were. This one was.
Yeah, it's cool.
I don't really remember what my inspiration for that one was. It was just just some of the stuff that I'd heard on the records, on the CDs.
Right. Like the first track, actually, it's kind of reminiscent of Stalker from Duke.
Well, I wanted to have the same impact.
Right.
You know, the Stalker, I mean, face it, nothing can really beat Stalker in terms of impact.
Right.
And this comes close, but it's never going to top it.
Nah. But it has its charm as well, It must have been pretty liberating, kind of having the audio on the CD audio.
It was a little bit frightening at times. That Kurzweil was such a beast. It could do so much, and I had to rein myself in because I had, God, at least 8 or 9 different Japanese flutes to choose from. And I think I used about 4 or 5 different Japanese flutes on the soundtrack here.
Wow.
So it just went from one end of the spectrum to the other. I had to stop and really think, well, which of these am I going to use? Because I used some that had a little da-da type trill that was built into the sample. Like this one had the da right at the attack.
Right.
Oh yeah, this is fun too. The winds at the end of the song.
Yeah.
This is one of the ways I tried. I tried to brace the fade out just by bringing the winds up. Now I let the 6/8 instruments stay up while fading out the winds and everything else.
Interesting. That's cool. I never even noticed that you had that in some of the songs, even the more melodic songs.
And there it loops in.
Right.
This one was done with the samples from the Sound Ideas disc.
Right, okay.
This is the one I told you about that I took and looped those samples from.
Gotcha.
Almost felt like I was cheating for using samples.
Right.
But I mean, it's still a legitimate track, but a little bit of cheating.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the ambient levels.
Right.
I can't remember which one. I think it's Land Waster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on one of these tracks, and to this day, I can't remember which one, I sampled my own voice and used it as an instrument.
Cool.
As a low drone. Yeah, I think this one is Land Waster. Here's another one of the flutes I was talking about.
Right. So do you have a favorite song from Shadow Warrior, Lee?
I do. It's track number 8 from the CD. It's called Shellac. This one is definitely my favorite. And yet another flute.
It's an interesting mix having the synths as well as the the kind of Japanese instrumentation.
Mm-hmm. Mix of the modern and the ancient.
Right.
Plus a little orchestral there too, with some strings.
Mm-hmm. Did you listen to, or have you listened to any of the new Shadow Warrior music, or even have you seen any of the footage of the game?
I listened to it briefly. I watched through some of the first level, and be honest, the game talk kind of overwhelmed the music.
Right.
And it was kind of hard to discern the music from anything else that was going on.
Gotcha.
Although I was still kind of yearning for John Galt's voice to be in there. I mean, 'cause I worked with him so much to get the original Lo Wang.
Right.
I was the producer on those voice sessions.
Oh, interesting.
The director. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
I directed the voice sessions. I also did the editing on the vocals when we got them back into the studio, back at 3D Realms,
Gotcha.
and pretty much if it made noise, I was in charge of.
Okay.
So, jack of all trades on the game.
Right. That's the way it was back then, wasn't it? A lot of, a few people had a few different roles, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's cool though that you had control over the the voice actors and that as well, because the low like it's so funny. Is some of the dialogue is hilarious.
He was good at ad-libbing. He was really good.
Right.
And we would play off each other at times. Usually I didn't even have to throw him any kind of bone or anything. He'd just go. Most of the time he would just go on his own. I would occasionally throw him a bone and he'd go for hours on some of this stuff.
No way.
But the sessions were worth every penny that we paid for them.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, every time I came back, they wanted more.
That's brilliant. Because there's that on the CD audio. I do remember, when I originally played the game, I didn't have the audio, but I had the MIDI. And then later on, I think I bought the CD. And then because I used to put like when I got games back in the day, I used to put them in the CD players and see what because it'd be so amazing hearing video game music coming from the CD player. So, but the Lo Wang rap at the end is just it's a gas track. It's so funny. How did that come together?
That one's a good story. GT Interactive. The guys who were going to hype up the game at E3 wanted a rap, and they sent me down lyrics for a rap, and I got John Galt into the booth, and I'd put together a beat to go underneath it. I'd just written a beat to go underneath the thing.
Right.
And I tried playing that, and I'd asked John to try rapping over the top of it. The guy could not keep a rhythm to save his soul. I mean, he couldn't rap his way out of a brown paper bag, unfortunately. We got, I think, one word that was usable out of that session. I think it was the words "so," something like that.
Right.
So what I did was I went back through every bit of outtake that we had and pieced together in Saw Studio a song over the top of the beat that I had, just using outtakes. Spliced them so that they fit the rhythm. Added in other sounds that we had for other actors getting kicked or punched or stuff like that, other sound effects. added in. There you go. That was fun too, having a second track for the echo.
Right.
I had to just make up stuff, make up the lyrics on my own. I just took what was sent to me and tossed it out the window. And I made it a two-part song. Part one, Lo Wang kicking the crap out of a student. Part two, Lo Wang trying to pick up a girl. And here we go.
You're not too smart. You're too stupid to duck.
Yeah.
Talking with your head again. What's the matter, you scaredy cat?
And that's just what it was. It was just sound effects from picking up. There we go. Bok, bok, bok. And at the end of it, once I put it together, played it for some of the guys up at work. They loved it. The company that was doing the hype did not like it. They used somebody else's music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know what they did exactly. All I know is they didn't use my stuff.
Oh.
But I took it and sent it off to Dr. Demento. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I'm not.
He's an American broadcaster who's famous for playing what he calls demented tracks. He gave Weird Al Yankovic his big start.
Oh, okay.
Just crazy music, funny tracks, joke music.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent Lo Wang's rap off to Dr. Demento, and Dr. Demento played it on the air.
Oh, that's cool.
And later on, by this time I had managed to make my way into the Grammy organization based on my work on Stargunner.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was one of the first people to qualify for Grammy membership based solely on music for video games.
That's amazing. I had no idea, Lee. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I
What
don't
an
know if
achievement.
I don't know if I was the first, but I was one of the first, and I do know that. But I took Lo Wang's rap and sent it off to the Grammy organization to see if they would accept it as something that could be on the list of possible things to be nominated, and they did accept it as on the rap list. And I don't know if it got any votes. I know that it didn't get nominated.
Right.
I think it might have got one vote, mine.
That is unbelievable.
But it did make the list for that year.
Wow.
And I've still got that year's catalog for the first round voting.
That's unreal.
So, yeah.
I mean,
Now this song that you're playing here, this one's got its own little story too. This one's a creepy little story. One of the things that we would do at night is watch anime, especially while we were doing Shadow Warrior.
mm-hmm.
And sometimes it was some of the more risque anime, some of the ecchi anime.
Right.
And there was one of them called La Blue Girl. that had a little perverted character in it called Nin Nin, who was a little creepy ninja who was always chasing after the girls in the anime,
Right, okay.
chasing after them and never getting anything. Okay.
Right, gotcha.
Well, this song is called Nin Nin Gets His.
Ah, okay.
So, he finally gets his, but yeah.
Yeah, so, some of the anime stuff is brilliant. It's very, very creepy, very strange.
Yeah. This is some of the creepier stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, Nin Nin Gets His is one of the fun tracks.
That's cool.
Okay. This is Okinawa Reprise. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, but this is in mono. I don't know how
Yeah.
it got that way.
Yeah, it sounds alright.
I think it was played in the shareware version as a WAV file or something like that.
Right.
So I think that's how it wound up as a mono file on the CD.
Right.
I'm still kind of hazy as to what I did to lose the original stereo version.
Okay.
I screwed up somewhere.
Right. So, whose ideally was it to have the ambient music in with the kind of more song-sounding songs?
Well, George wanted the ambient stuff. I couldn't do pure ambient. I had to have some sort of song on top of it.
Right. Yeah, I like it though. It's cool. Were you given any reference tracks at all, or was it just were you doing it yourself just to?
No, not given any references in this case. They did not have much of a. They didn't have much of a guidance themselves in terms of which way to go.
Right. Okay.
So I had to do the research myself. Looked it up, listened to it, and went with it.
Cool. Again, it's pretty nice to be able to have your own input and your own decision of what you think the music should sound like, you know?
Right.
It's a really nice thing to have as a composer. And, you know, a lot of directors and that tell you to kind of go with temp tracks and stuff, and that just annoys the bejesus out of me. So it's nice to, you know, do your own thing from the start and settle in and, yeah, have your vision uncompromised.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that when they don't know what they want, they don't know if what you're giving them is what they want either.
Right, yeah, true.
So I did have to put up with a little bit of that. Shadow Warrior was a fun game.
Absolutely.
I think it's gotten a bad rap because of some of the fun that John Galt had with it and some of the liberties that the developers took with it.
Right.
There was a lot of misinterpretation done by some of the people who looked at the game post-production once it got out into the retail market. I can tell you right now, with the music, I took great pains to make sure that I went with authentic sounds. You can tell just from listening to this one track right here that I did not go stereotypical
Yeah.
with it. I went authentic,
Right.
and I wanted to maintain that feel through as much of the soundtrack as I could.
But yeah, no, it was great again, Lee, for coming on and doing this again with me, and I really look forward to putting it up. Rise of the Triad is out this week, so yeah, and I think we've covered already 3-year games, so it's really cool to have you here.
I appreciate you asking me on. Thank you very much.
Oh man, it's absolutely my pleasure.